Hey, this is Tina Moenck, the author of the Soap Making Handbook Volume 1 and the creator of the e-course Masterclass Advanced Soap Formulations. I am doing a series of videos just for the beginner soap maker, and I am also using excerpts from my book, the Soap Making Handbook Volume 1, which is available at my website, naturalsudsandmore.com. And I also have a Facebook group called Soap Making and Business Coaching. We have lots of information in the files, beginner recipes, lye safety, all kinds of things there for you if you'd like to check that out. And you can also join me on Patreon. I have a special group just for my patrons that pledge to give $5 or more a month. And you can go to patreon.com/Tina Moenck if you'd like some more information on that. In this video, we are just going to go over some common problems you might encounter with cold process soap making and touch on some tips for you to help you out. You might come across acceleration. This is when your soap comes to trace extremely quickly. Sometimes your batch thickens and you might even get a false trace. And a false trace is going to happen if you have some of your solid oils that have resolidified and it looks like they have been emulsified, but they haven't. Okay, fragrance oils can be the culprit of acceleration. Humidity can also do it. Beeswax, stearic acid, overusing your stick blender, all of that can cause acceleration. And you might get your batch may seize. And this is kind of beyond acceleration. It's not even workable at this point. It's just thick. You can also get what they call soap on a stick. The stick blender, it's stuck. And this is usually because of fragrance oil or something that has caused that to go horribly wrong. And if that ever happens to you, you can just use the crock pot and hot process it to save it so you can do something with it. You may also encounter ricing, and basically this is what happens when a fragrance oil combines with hard oil components in the recipe and they look like little rice lumps. This can be stick blended out, but this will also cause your batter to get very thick. Separation. Sometimes after you've poured your soap into the mold, your mixture can separate and you'll get like an oil slick on top. If this does happen to you, you're going to want to rebatch it and you're just going to scoop it out and put it in the crock pot, and you are going to have to cook that and mix it back together. Okay. Something else that might happen is cracking. The top, after you poured it into the mold, and it starts to heat up, it can overheat and then it can crack on top. There's nothing wrong with it. It just got overheated. And you can try to push it back together while it's still soft with gloves on. But it's not a huge issue. It's just an aesthetic thing. Okay. If you soap at too high of temperatures, like 130, 140, you are going to really risk having your soap erupt out of the mold or volcano. So that's why we really recommend soaping at around 100, 110 degrees. You can soap at 90 degrees if you want, but just know that the hotter the soap is, the more risks of issues that you're going to have. You might even experience something called alien brain when it gets too hot. The top of the soap just gets kind of wrinkly. It's just an appearance thing. It's not going to hurt anything. And you may also, if you do happen to not weigh something correctly, if your soap is lye heavy, it will be crumbly. Or if you added too much salt, it can be crumbly as well. We use sodium hydroxide, which is a salt. So our soap is already saturated with salt, so that's why we can't add too much more salt to it. It just can't take it. So your soap will get crumbly if too much salt is added. And also, so just know that's the two reasons why if you try to cut your soap and it's crumbly and it's really hard, it's most likely because of it's lye heavy or it's got too much salt. Okay, notice that many of the issues that I went over have to do with heat. So you really can focus on doing cold process at lower temperatures. That will help you avoid a lot of those issues. And also, fragrance oils, they are known to cause a lot of problems in soap. And Brambleberry, I know, tests all of their fragrance oils and essential oils to see how they behave in soap. And I know other sites do as well. So if they're known to, sometimes they can change the color of your soap as well. So if you go and look and it says, hey, this fragrance oil has been known to seize or discolor or do something like that, then you know exactly what to do with it. I don't use very many fragrance oils, but I do recommend going to sites that give the reviews so that you know exactly what to expect. And you want to make sure that you get a true trace, not a false trace. And I kind of went over that a little bit, but when you melt down your oils, your hard oils, you want to make sure it's clear. If you can't see through it, then it's not ready to use yet. But the best way to learn how to do this is just through practice. Soap making is not something that you learn overnight. I mean, it can take years to really get a good idea of this and learn everything, and you still can't learn everything. I'm still learning, and I've been doing this for many years. So just know that you might be, it's really easy to get frustrated in the beginning and lose patience for things. Soap making does require a lot of patience, and you are just gonna have to do one thing at a time. I don't recommend, going crazy and trying to learn everything at once. Uh, do one thing, figure it out, and then when you're ready, go on to something else. Just take your time with soap making. It's one of those things that there's just so much to it. Okay, and also, I wrote this book, the Soap Making Handbook Volume 1, to be there for the beginners, but also as a resource for people that are more advanced. So please take advantage of that. It's a great book to have on hand. I wrote this book because it was what I wished I would have had in the beginning. I put everything in there that I possibly could. It's about 250 pages. So if you have any questions about any of this, just let me know and comment below or anything like that. Just I'm here to help you. So whatever I can do to help you, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.